Dan, I usually start an interview by saying, thanks for being here, but I'm here visiting
Welcome.
you. So, yeah, you want
It's
to
great
welcome
to
me?
have you. Thank you for being here.
Well, we want to talk a little bit about your career. And over the last decade, over a decade, you've shaped stories for the biggest company in the world, which has not only driven news cycles, but changed perceptions. So I want to ask you a very basic question. I'm in communications. How do you do that?
Well, I wish it was a simple answer to that. The thing is, any good communications, you have to have a good story to tell. And Walmart has a pretty good story to tell. We've been going through quite a bit of transformation in the company over the last 10 years as the world's changed about how consumer behaviors, the company has to change itself. And that's one of the things that we learned most from our founder, Sam Walton. Change was a big element of everything. He was constantly looking at competition and making sure that we're staying relevant. And so, around the time that I was joining the company, obviously e-commerce is becoming a real force for consumers. There was even questions about whether stores are even going to be relevant in the future. We had a hunch that maybe they would, but we did know that whatever retailer kind of brought both of those things together, both an e-commerce and technology experience coupled with a great in-store experience. And so we've been investing in that and doing a lot around that in a way that we think is meeting the expectations of customers. And so right now, we got a bit of momentum in the company and doing quite well, but we don't take that for granted, and we work hard every day to serve those customers the way they expect.
So you bring up the word change, and a big story you're telling right now focuses on this new campus,
Yeah.
350-acre campus. I'm going to quote you. In 2020, you told the NWA Council, the easiest part of the conversation has been that we never considered leaving Bentonville. For those of us who grew up here, we appreciate that so much. What are you hoping a message like that tells the rest of the world about the roots that Walmart has established in Bentonville?
Yeah, it's a great question because, as you could probably imagine, there are a lot of states who are very competitive about attracting companies like Walmart, and they can promise tax incentives and those things. And of course, every once in a while you take a look at those things and say, "Hey, does it still make sense for us to be here?" It's really a quick conversation, as I said back then, for us because one of the things we think is unique about Walmart is our culture. And our culture is very tied to our founder. And our founder is very tied to Bentonville. And it's hard for us to see a scenario in the future where if we extracted ourselves from Bentonville and from Northwest Arkansas, that we would be undoing something really special, the special formula that has worked for so long. So if something that's worked that long and that well, why'd you go about changing it? So what we're most excited about is that the leaders in this community and the community itself also adapts change just like Walmart has. And so those of you who have lived here a long time have seen an enormous amount of change in the community. And so what we hope to do is be consistent with that. Stay true to the principles and values that not only have made Walmart special, but have made Bentonville special, but also have the types of things from a modern day campus that we think are necessary for us to compete in a very competitive global market.
So you're talking about the modern day campus, and I'm feeling this excitement about this campus around town. And I want to ask you personally, what are you most excited about?
Well, then I'm still here to see the end of it because we've been doing it for like 6 years now. And usually the people who get put in charge of big projects like this rarely get to see the end of it. So I'm just glad I'm still here.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. I guess the most exciting part about it is how one of the big design features we had was, companies, I think historically, you've seen around the country, sometimes build their corporate campuses that's almost walled off from the community and protected from the community. And what this one will be, and what this new home office experience is going to be very integrated into the community. And the Razorback Trail is going to run right through the heart of it. It's going to be open to the public. We're going to have a hotel that's going to be for our employees, but also for the public. We're going to have mixed-use retail on 8th Street that's going to be open to the community. And so if you have a spouse or your mom or dad works for Walmart and you have a chance to have lunch, you can grab lunch right on the campus in a retail spot. Things like that are just exciting for us because we do know that when our associates are comfortable in their personal lives and their professional lives, they're going to give their full potential. And that's what we're looking for. And we think this new campus in Bentonville is going to help us reach our full potential.
I want to talk a little bit about the community being integrated into this new
Yeah.
campus because that's very unique and it's part of that interwoven story of Bentonville and Walmart. How do you want the community to feel about this campus?
that it very much is a part of their community, that it's just an extension of the community, and that hopefully they'll feel like the proverbial welcome mat is always there for them to experience it. Obviously, there's going to be places where we can't let everybody in, but for the most part, this is going to be a very accessible campus, not only to our suppliers who live and work here in Northwest Arkansas, but to people who live in Bentonville. And one of the why we're so excited about that proximity of where this location is, the 350 acres, is the accessibility to downtown and to all the different features where a lot of growth is already happening. It's a place where we know a lot of our associates want to live, and to be able to have an experience where they can just hop on a bike or even walk or jog and to the campus and change there, or those things to us. And one of the things I was struck by when we were doing the original analysis was like over 60% of our employees live within 3 miles of the new campus. So to create more of that density and that ability for it just becomes a vibrant part of the community is something we're really excited about.
Okay, I want to pivot a little bit
Yeah.
to some of your time in public office. Before you joined Walmart,
It looks better in the rearview mirror.
Before you shaped Walmart, you shaped powerful stories at the White House, including President Bush's calm, determined first messages to the nation on 9/11. Just want to hear what those moments were like for you. You were on Air Force One.
I was on Air Force One on 9/11. It was, that whole experience for me was extraordinary. It's a privilege to be able to serve the country, but obviously to be able to be in a position like I was during such a historic time in our country and in the world history, still kind of is like a pinch yourself moment, and still feels almost surreal that I was involved in it. And so to be able to play a small role in helping, shape that narrative in the hours and days after 9/11, helping the country and the world, for that matter, to come together under a common cause was, a real privilege, and one that I'll never forget. And every year that I love that the country takes a step and pauses on 9/11 to remember those we lost, and to do it in a way that gives me an opportunity to obviously reflect on all of those memories. And obviously I stay in communication with my old boss, my President Bush, and other former colleagues. And so it was a very cherished moment in my life to be able to be a part of something so historic.
I first saw you in a documentary. You were telling a story that many of us would find like very surprisingly relatable.
Oh no.
It's the moment you were on Air Force One. It's September 11th, and you had to seek medical attention because you took all the pills. Can you tell me this story? I want to see it in person because I saw you on this documentary tell it, and it stuck with me. I relate to that.
Well, obviously we were very preoccupied with the events of the day, and there was a lot of confusion. You hear a lot about the fog of war, and there was a lot of miscommunication, or a lot of erroneous information coming in about planes that were still in the air that might be hostile. We had fighter jets scrambled that were sitting on the wingtips of Air Force One, which typically wasn't the case. We thought when we left Florida we were going back to Washington, D.C., but that's when the Pentagon was hit. And there were still hundreds, if not 1,000, commercial aircraft in the air. And so it was a very tense time period. But as the day unfolded and we had made some stops, as it's been recorded, and we were on our way back to Washington, D.C., where the president was going to address the nation from the Oval Office. And so we're on Air Force One, and there's a big conference room in the heart of the plane where we were working on his speech to the nation. And the medical staff who treats the president, but also treats the senior staff around the president, was going through their protocols, which was to make sure they didn't know, as we didn't know. Was this the first phase of an attack?
Right.
Was this it? We didn't know. We didn't know if there was going to be chemical or biological attacks. All the things we knew at that time, that by that time of the day, that this was Al Qaeda. We knew that Al Qaeda had aspirations of big events like what happened at the World Trade Center, but we also knew that the chemical and biological warfare was something that was on their minds as well. So as a preventive measure, the medical staff gave each of us a series of pills. That your mom always tells you, just pay careful attention to the instructions.
Read the label.
Read the label. Yeah, I didn't. I thought I'd heard what he said, and I guess I thought it was just like a potpourri of various pills today, so I just took the pills. And I remember throwing the sleeve down, and I was like, and I looked up, and I was like, I don't quite see anybody else doing the same thing. And I was like, so I reached down, and then I read it, and it says take one pill each day for the next 6 days.
That feeling.
Oh, I'm like, I've just killed myself on 9/11 in a historic event, and I'm going to be, so there was a whole series of me going to the medical staff. At first, they thought I was kidding. I was just like, no, I'm not kidding. And I was under the impression that within minutes I'd be getting my stomach pumped, which they thankfully didn't have to do. And obviously, I survived through the process. But when all things kind of, I was a bit preoccupied the rest of the night thinking that I was going to have some really adverse medical reactions to it. Like I said, I think he gave me a bottle of Pepto-Bismol and he said, drink all this. And that was, and I thought for one of the world-class doctors in the world who's treating the president, it might have been a more sophisticated remedy to the coach. But no, it was just good old-fashioned Pepto-Bismol. And so here I am today to embarrassingly retell the story. My kids get a real kick out of it, but yeah, it wasn't one of my finest moments, that's for sure.
Thank you for being here to tell the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Real quick, last question. What's the next story that you want to tell for Walmart?
Oh, wow. Obviously next year is a big year for us here locally. And as, the first associates are moving in December, this past December. And each month of this year is like going to be a new box to open because each office building almost on a month-to-month basis. And so it's going to take almost the entire year for us to fully populate the new home office. And so telling that story in real time and letting our associates tell that story and let the community interact with it is so exciting. So that to me, just at a local level and community level, is really exciting. Of course, there's a lot of things going on in the world. We've got new administration going in. The Arkansas legislature is coming back. So there'll be plenty of things for Walmart to be involved in when it comes to how we serve our customers. But I would say closest to my heart is obviously the story of the new home office and unveiling this real, I think, which is going to be an enduring symbol in this community for generations to come. We took the long view in how we built this. If this is something that 50, 60 years from now, people will still be proud of. And so to me, that's where my excitement lays.
You tell the story well. The associates around town are telling the story right now because I hear a lot of, I'm a July, I'm moving in March. So there's a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
We'll follow you guys along the way and thanks for having me here.
It's my pleasure.
In your studio today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice to meet you.
Anytime.